Hey guys, Stompy Sharp and Pointy here. I wanted to show you my knife collection. This is actually about maybe 2/3 of my collection. I have a few oddball pieces, some really cheap ones that I got for my birthday from relatives, and a few old school Coldsteel and old school Spydercos that I'm not showing. But this is pretty much the bulk of my collection. There are a few pieces that I'm going to show you that are out of camera. I'll get those out of the way first. First guy is a recent purchase. This is a Spyderco Yojimbo. It is, well, I've got a lot of black behind it, but it is the Mike Janich and Snody collaboration. It is the fixed blade version of the, actually this is the Ronin. The Yojimbo 2 is the folder version of this. Folder version is almost impossible to find. This one came up at, this guy here came up at, I believe it was Arizona Custom Knives, and it was pretty reasonable. It was only about 150 bucks. It probably was about maybe $75 to $80 possibly retail. So that was recently purchased. Let's see here. Let's see if I can find the other recent purchase. Nope, nope, that's not the one. Yeah, that's the one. This is another recent purchase. This is a 5-inch Balisong, Benchmade. I believe this is the Hollywood Benchmade vintage. This is a utility blade. It is a numbered blade. It is 11 out of 21. It was purchased, actually this is a birthday present to myself. It's latched. The steel that they used, I'm not really sure about this particular one, but usually when they use steels, they actually stamp on the blade the steel type. This is the utility, by the way. I think I may have said that. Utility blade is possibly either the deep belly buoy that has been modified slightly, or the Weehawk blade. I believe it's actually the Weehawk that they modify slightly and grind to a high hollow, similar to the Imada high hollow. I figure this is probably 1989, 1990 in age. The reason I say that is when I actually hooked up with Benchmade was when they moved to Clackamas, Oregon. I actually called them. I had purchased a, I'm going to put that away, and I had purchased a, let's see, I want that, there we go, purchased a magazine, I believe it was called Fighting Blades or Combat Blades magazine, and they had an ad in their paper and a picture of the deep belly buoy. I believe it was the deep belly buoy at the time was made by Jody Sampson. and I had called that phone number. Their address was Hollywood at the time. And when I called them, Les Diasis answered the phone. And we talked for possibly 20 minutes, possibly less. Actually, he was kind of on the busy side because they had just moved in. He told me that their truck broke down on a mountain. And he ended up taking my information, and they sent me some a pamphlet from Benchmade on the knives they made. And this particular blade was advertised in that literature. Months later, I asked them if they had a utility blade, or could do a utility blade balisong, and they said they had discontinued that particular blade. It wasn't very popular. It was actually my favorite knife when it comes to blade patterns of the balisongs. It was one of my favorite knives, and it kind of became my holy grail. These are their custom sheaths. They had actually two different versions of their custom sheaths. They had, I believe, 3 colors: black, medium brown, and light brown. I personally prefer the light and the medium brown. And they had 2 different styles. They had this semi-basket weave pattern that just had a little bit of basket weave in the pattern. Comes with the logo, of course. Comes with their logo, of course. This is the 4-inch version. It's barely been used. It's almost new. It actually came, I actually purchased it, I should say, around the same time I purchased this guy. Well, actually I purchased this one the same time I purchased this guy. This actually was my first balisong. This is the 5-inch deep belly buoy. As you can see, it's got a very similar shape to the utility blade. It comes in 440C. 440C was their standard steel at the time. I bounced this thing around. It's got a lot of dents in the handle and scratches, and so it's been well loved. Anyway, they had a handful of steels that they would use. They used D2. They have their standard steel. Oh, by the way, the inserts are Cocobolo. It's a latchless. My favorite design of the Benchmade balisongs. I purchased this around 1990. I believe it was 90. It may have been 1989, but I believe it was 1990. They retailed for, the 5-inch ones retailed from, I believe, 350. They went from 350 to 425, 450, or somewhere around that range. Generally, the extra inch would cost you anywhere from $100 extra to $75, $50 extra. They actually had, for a while, they were offering, around the end of their run of the custom balisongs, they were offering 6-inch versions of this particular balisong. I'm not sure how popular those became. At the same time that I purchased the Cocobolo deep belly buoy, I purchased this guy. This is also a custom sheath that they offered. They retailed in the 90s, mid-90s for, early and mid-90s for about $45, I would say. possibly up to 60. They actually didn't make the custom sheaths themselves. They had them made. This one's got a few marks on it, a few dents. It's been used a little bit. Okay. I'm going to show you a few oddball pieces. This one is unrelated to Benchmade, but it's a rare bird. This is the Emerson Super Raven. It comes with their serrated edge. Now, at the time I purchased this guy, I thought that they would make it a part of their regular line. It was a new knife when I purchased it. Probably they started making them a month before I had found out about them. It was it has a hidden wave feature. The wave feature is right there, and when it's fully opened, it's hidden. It's of their larger sizes. I'm not exactly sure. Let's see, I've got a ruler here. Maybe I can measure or give you a ballpark of how long the thing is. It's 9 inches overall. Has approximately 3 3/4 inch blade. It's just under 4 inches. Of course, 154 cm. This particular model is number 9 off the line. It's quite low. I didn't think that they were going to discontinue this one, so I actually used it a few times and sharpened it a few times. So it does have some use scratches on it and a few mistakes on sharpening, so it does have some scratches on it. After I found out that they stopped making it, I stopped using it. I also purchased a second one. This one I carried more than used. I did use it a few times. It hasn't been sharpened. But as you can see, it has a left-handed clip on it. I use the left-handed clip on my right side, and I pull it out in ice pick. It was used more as a potential self-defense weapon. Same blade, you know, same steel, same size. At some point, I probably, if I can, you know, catch tough thumbs when he's not excessively busy with all his custom knives, I'm going to have him do a little customizing on these. I also have to save up some money for that very purpose. Let's see. Did I show you this one? Yeah, I showed you that one. Let's see. Okay, this next one I got at Cutlery Shop. At the time when I started buying these, I really got interested. I really like these a lot, so I would purchase them more often. And Cutlery Shop was one of the places that I would buy knives. And I asked them, I said, do you have any balisongs, Benchmade balisongs that you don't put in the catalog? And they said yes. And this is what they had. This is a Weehawk blade with file work, latchless 5-inch with aluminum handles. The aluminum is a lower grade than 6061 T6, so it's quite soft. So this thing, I actually flipped this around a few times. It doesn't have too many scratches, but a lot of these scratches came from the factory. This is the thing about balisongs. When they make them, they need to check them out to see if they actually are in good shape. Flippable, basically. So at the factory, they flip them. So you're always, even new, going to end up with balisongs that have scratches on them. Now, I'm not saying that nowadays they these, by the way, didn't have any type of washer system in them. They actually had a bearing system. They basically combined pins and like a tube bearing system where they would insert a tube and a pin, and the pin would roll around on the bearing, the tube, or the pin would roll around on the tube like a bearing. It cut down on wear somewhat and friction somewhat. Let's see here, get this sucker back in the sheath. It also comes in 440C, ATS 34, I think they offered D2, and Damascus. I would love to get a hold of a Damascus crisp blade. Okay, the next is, let's see, oh, that smaller, everything's black here. The smaller balisong that I showed, did I show it? Missing it. Got too many knives. Sorry, I'm gonna end up wasting. Okay, that must have been it. Sorry. Okay, this one, these two, this guy that's I've got out of the sheath. I've got it out there a little bit of a tease. This is also a Benchmade. These two, this guy right here and this one, are one of a kind. This is of their standard Weehawk Tanto, but it's one of a kind because it has serrations on it. They did not do serrations on their balisongs. The custom balisongs, I should say. They did them on the 42 and I believe the 41, which were actually not handmade. Technically, nowadays they call that either mid-tech or the old term is Benchmade. They had set steels, set patterns, but this thing's got a lot of handwork on it. It's not made by one particular maker. The older Pacific Cutleries and the older Benchmades were actually ground, a lot of them, by Jody Sampson. I'm not really sure if these were actually ground by Jody Sampson. I think at that point he was gone from Benchmade doing other things. You know, Les told me one time he's like most artists. He gets bored with stuff after a while and goes to other things. But this one is one of a kind. They had at the time come out with their own serrations. If you can, let's see if I can get that close enough without the camera going screwy on me. I don't know if that's going to focus or not. Anyway, they came out with their own serrations in the mid-90s. And they're what I refer to as handlebar mustache serrations. They're actually, rather than being pointed, they're round. And I think they're probably the best serrations on the market. The false edge is actually not a false edge, that's sharpened. It's black micarta, I believe linen micarta. The handles on the Balisongs were 303, I believe, stainless steel. This particular one is 9 inches, I believe, overall. Let's see here. Yeah, it's about 9 1/4 overall. Of course, it's got technically has a 4-inch blade, not including the tang. If you include the tang, it's generally 4.5, 4 1/4 inches long. And it is of the T-latch style, the non-springed T-latch style. Safe handle position. My first balisong I actually don't have anymore. I gave it to a friend of mine. Bought it in the early 80s, around the time when I studied karate. It was the manila folder, the Taylor Cito manila folder. And that was actually one of my favorite balisongs. Okay, let's see. This next guy. Let's see. Oops, I already showed you that one. That was the. This one was the utility blade. I'm probably going to send this to Tough Thumbs and have them clean up, or have him clean up the handle. This was a numbered version, 11 out of 21, but it looked like it had been bounced around. The handles are really scratched up badly, and I'd like to have him fix that for me. Maybe his assistant can do that, you know, to learn how to do finishing on blades. I don't know. Anyway, this next one is also one of a kind. I have never really flipped this sucker around. It's pretty close to pristine. I say pretty close because it does have a few scratches on it from the manufacturer, because the manufacturers do flip them. This guy is a 5-inch Weehawk Tanto ATS 34 steel. I'm not sure if you can see the stamp on that or not. I think you can probably see it there. It's got elephant ivory in it. Now, you can probably see the staining on the elephant ivory. What happened, basically, when I first got the knife, a few weeks actually, before I got the knife, Eric Benoit, who was working at Benchmade at the time, was making it for me. When I actually called Benchmade, Les answered the phone again, and he, at the time, offered to make it himself. But he ended up in the hospital. He ended up with a back operation. He blew a disc in his back, lifting something wrong in the shop. Anyway, Eric Benoit ended up making this for me, I believe. I'm sure other people were involved. But the handles, I had him do the lightning holes, excuse me, the lightning holes. I was cleaning it up a little bit there. I had a few fingerprints and spots on it. I had him do the small, let's see if I can get that camera correctly here. See those the holes? That is a custom feature that Eric Benoit did for me. I wanted something a little bit, you know, past the standard balisong, but I couldn't really afford Damascus. So I had them do this. That's similar, it's not exact, but it's similar to the lightning holes that are on the Taylor Cedo model. So technically it's not a one-of-a-kind feature. The Taylor Cedos had them on theirs, but it is one-of-a-kind for Benchmade. Benchmade generally didn't do this particular feature on their balisongs. Now, talking about the staining on the ivory. Ivory has a natural aging process. It will get darker as it gets older, but the staining is due somewhat to the sheath itself. I bought it, I looked it over, it was pristine, I put it away. I put it in the pouch, the black pouch that they had for it. I then put it in the plastic bag that they had for it and left it alone. Like most people who collect knives, occasionally, put this away, occasionally I got it out. About 6 months after I bought it, I got it out, looked at it, and noticed the stains. Noticed that it resembled, to a certain extent, the pattern on the nylon sheath. So somehow the nylon chemically changed the ivory. So at that point what I did is I started storing the knife in the plastic bag and then putting the knife that was in the plastic bag into the sheath. That way the sheath would not react to the ivory. You know, sadly, that is a flaw in that particular knife. Okay, I'm going to get these out of the way. This one is a numbered version. This guy is the Bazooki Spike. It is non-serrated, and it has on it the words, let's see if I can show you that, get that up there, prototype. So, and you notice, if you know anything about the Bazooki Spike, you notice the clip's different. Now, the other feature that's also different is the button. The thumb stud on this one, there's not a way to really show you very well. I don't know if you can get up, I can get up close enough. As you can tell, that thumb stud is flat. The production version of this particular knife, by the way, this is number 21, I believe, out of 100. The differences between this, the hardware is not blackened out. It's sort of bead blasted. It looks like it might be tumbled as well, but I think it's bead blasted. At the time, in the early 90s, The tumbled finish was a custom feature on custom knives. This thing's pristine. It's never been used. There's no scratches on this thing. There's no fingerprints. Granted, I'm going to wipe my fingerprints off when I close it. It is, let's see, I believe it was 6061 T6 aluminum, which is a much better aluminum than the aluminum handle on that custom Balisong that I showed you. It's actually a better anodizing. It looks like it has been sandblasted first and then hard anodizing. It comes with a titanium liner all the way down the inside of the handle. Let's see if I can get that in the picture there. There you go. That's a good picture there. Comes all the way down the blade, or all the way down the handle, like so. The spine is about 3/4 of an inch. It is an open design, so you can clean it out, blow it out if you need to. Washers, I think the washers were just standard stainless steel washers. The liner comes over about 5%. It covers the entire liner, but the liner is maybe 2 millimeters thick, maybe a little less than a millimeter. It looks like it's been water jetted and not polished on the liner. So the liner itself is not polished, so there's some machining marks on the edge. But this one is pristine. I have the box with it. The Ivory one also comes with their custom boxes, which are basically just the light tan or white boxes that are folded together. Let's see here. Okay. This is an example of their retail version of the same knife. This one has the serrations on it as well. The only serrations I really like a lot are these serrations. Now, as you can see, well, maybe not very well, but as you can see right there, hardware is blackened out. Let's see, get that. My arm's not long enough. The hardware is blackened out. Now it is tipped down. Now, in the old days when the clips became popular, they had a legal concern about the clip being tip up. Subsequently, they started doing tip down, or subsequently they started doing tip up for convenience and speed. Now, I've already showed you these. Next two are the of their custom line. Their I don't know how to explain it. They did a custom line based on custom makers and knives that those custom makers are famous for doing. This one is I believe it's called the 970. Emerson CQC7 clone, technically. It has double liners. They're not drilled. That is a feature that is put in knives nowadays. In the 90s, they didn't do that. This knife is so light to begin with that they really didn't need to do it. It has G10 scales. It's about halfway in on the lockup. This almost has no detent in it at all. I can literally flick my wrist and open it up. And I'm not sure if that's because the detent had become dirty or if the detent, there you go, see? I mean, just a flick and it pops out with authority. It's ATS 34. Let's see, give you a size. It's pretty much CQC 7 size. This is actually, I think, the larger version. They had two sizes. They had a smaller and larger version. This is the larger version. Of course, it's got serrations, and actually it has regular serrations on it. Slightly less aggressive serrations, but effectively has regular serrations. They actually stopped making those round serrations because they were actually spending a lot of money on the, I don't know if they were belts or if they were stones that they were actually using for their, what I called handlebar serrations. This is another one. This is the 9700, I believe. This is the automatic version. It has the spring. I've been using this off and on for 20 years, probably 20 years, 25 years. So the spring on it is not that fast. It's not that strong. The original spring, it was quite strong. I mean, you could pop this out and it would almost fly out of your hands if you didn't have a hold of it. It has G10 handles. The scales, the spine is probably 1/3 up, so it is an open construction somewhat. This one is non-serrated. I actually pierced a few things with the tip, so it does have a few scratches on the tip. So it is slightly used, sadly. I'm sort of a semi-hardcore collector. Some of my pieces I use a lot, some of them I don't. I'm going to get these two guys out of the way. I should have actually got these two out of the way earlier. This is the small Shinobu, or excuse me, small, this is the Clipmate. This is Coldsteel. This is a Coldsteel Clipmate. It has craton, I believe, either neoprene or craton handles. It's one of my favorite standard folders. It comes in Sanmei 3 or Sanmai 3 stainless steel. It is early 80s vintage. Comes with an almost pristine sheath. Dual mount pristine sheath. I'm not sure if I've got the box for this or not. The way I was storing my knives, I've actually, it was a little sloppy. So I may have actually misplaced the box if I still have it. It's in my closet somewhere on the floor. Anyway, the next one. This is the large Shinobu. It was actually bought at Hofritz. Hofritz actually purchased Cutlery World in the mid-90s, I would say, and literally a year after they purchased it, they went out of business. Cutlery World is a place I used to hang out at a lot. I was a bit of a mall rat in the 80s and 90s. Let's see if I can close that little stiff. It's barely, I don't think I used this at all. I may have polished it up a few times. The Hofritz logo although you can't see it. There's actually a Hofritz. That's the thing about Hofritz. At the time, they would put their logo on their blades that they sold. So everything said Hofritz on it. And I polished this up a few times. And the logo actually, it technically came off, but it's slightly etched into the blade. So at certain angles, you can actually see the word Hofritz at it. At other angles, you can't see it at all. But like I said, comes in San May 3. Neoprene or craton handles. It's one of my favorite knives. It's a very comfortable knife to use. It's rounded off. It's no hot spots. This one's got some silicone oil on the rubber, so the rubber is kind of on the sticky side. More sticky than usual. So this probably could be used in wet conditions and I wouldn't slip. Like I said, it also comes with a sheath. Pretty much pristine sheath. It's a dog hair. Pretty much a pristine sheath, dual mount. I prefer these dual mount sheaths to a lot of knives. Of course, nowadays clips are quite popular, so there's really no need for sheath. Let's see, I'm going to do these, get these out of the way. This one is actually a Pacific Cutlery International series right here. I'm sure there's a few videos on it. Let's see, this is the, get this open here. This is the 47. I would call this Mark II, possibly Mark III. I think the original 47 had a T-latch or a non-springed latch. It may not have been, it may have had the round butt end, that mushroom shape, but I think the original 47 actually had a non-spring latch. So I would call this either the Mark II or the Mark III. Comes in 440C. It's actually marked, I believe, 440C. Yeah, it's marked 440C. It's got a few scratches on it from flipping. This is the one I flipped around a lot. I like the Tanto version. Let's see if I can see. Actually, it doesn't have much in the way of scratches on it. That's the thing about this guy. They, at this point, were using pin construction and, or like screws rather than the hidden pin construction. They were using screws. And I believe they were using some sort of a bearing system that was more advanced. I think they had some Zen pin versions of this as well, but I'm not real sure. Has of course, the latch gate. I actually drew a picture of this latch gate before it was even invented. So, in a way, I'm the actual inventor of the latch gate. This was in the early 90s when I actually drew the picture. I occasionally would send pictures to Benchmade of improvements of their knives. I'm not saying that I invented it and they stole my idea. They probably didn't pay attention to the idea. But anyway, I had drawn pictures of an improvement. That's the 47, 440C stainless steel. Let's see, closed length is 5.5, I believe. My angle is a little off. And opened, I believe, is just over 9. 9.5, I believe. At my angle, it's 9.5. At your angle, it might be 9.25. And I actually got this in a trade. I got two knives in a trade, I believe. It was 2 knives. No, actually 3. I got these 2. This particular one, this is their standard, their sheaths that they sell nowadays. They didn't actually change much on these sheaths when they first started selling them. Let's see here. And this is the fabled 42 Mark II. Has 440C stainless steel. I think they came out with one with either 154 cm or D2. I'm not real sure. It has, of course, the spring latch gate, and it was also flipped a few times. Not quite as much as the Tonto version. I like the Tonto version a little bit better. I think the 42 flips better, but just design-wise, I like the stronger tip on the 42. Of course, it's the same basic size as the 47, and it didn't come with this sheath. I purchased it separately. Now, this guy is also kind of sought after. It's not really rare. This sheath, you know, I really don't know if Benchmade was selling these sheaths originally with this knife or not. I'm not sure if I purchased this separately or not. But it doesn't have any Benchmade logo on it. It doesn't say Benchmade on it. It's pretty much a nondescript ballistic nylon sheath, and not dual mount. It's just a vertical mount. Let's see if I can get that over there. Open this sucker up. This is the Zmac handled 239, excuse me. The steel, I believe, was Sandvik 12C27. I don't think it was a 440C steel. I really think it was a Sandvik steel. It just feels cheaper than 440C. 440C has got a little bit more weight to it. These are also pretty shiny, this blade. It's not been used, barely been flipped. Zmac is, as far as I know, it's a zinc alloy. I wouldn't call these rare, but occasionally if you flip these things hard, they break. So a lot of people, as you can tell, probably this sucker's been flipped. But it's not been used. It's been flipped. I like this knife design because even though it was flipped, there's no marks on the blade. I really like that. I'm a bit anal retentive about scratches. Let's see, put that away. Oh, this sheath. This is actually a copy of the Blackie Collins sheath. Blackie Collins made a sheath exactly like this, except for it was not ballistic nylon. It was just a regular nylon that you would see in notebook computer cases. I forgot what probably 500 denier or less. It was more like windbreaker material than it was ballistic nylon. But the same style, Blackie Collins actually made this particular style first. But in his, it was dual mounted. This is not dual mounted, so I think this is just a generic sheath that I purchased. Okay. Last couple of balisongs. I'm going to put that one there just for looking at. This guy, I actually traded a knife for. No, actually I didn't trade it. I actually bought it. A young lady had it. She worked at the Cutlery World at the time, and either didn't want it, didn't get into butterfly knives at the time, and she wanted to sell it. She tried to get into butterfly knives, and just wasn't that interested. It does have a few scratches in it. This is the 35. It is a Benchmade vintage. Probably 90, 91, possibly 80, 89, but I would say this is probably a 90 vintage. I have no idea what type of steel this is. It could be 440C, it could be Sandvik. It feels cheaper than 440C to me. It may not be cheaper, but it feels cheaper. And it's somewhat dull. So, at least on the tip, it's somewhat dull. So, she probably used it for a while and flipped it or tried to flip it. The latch closes, without any problem, but if you open it up and try to lock it, it falls loosely. So it has been flipped enough that the pin has worn into the handle some. So the handle is probably not very high temper 303 stainless steel or similar stainless steel. I tried at one point to put a piece of tape over the pin indents in the handle to try and tighten it up some, but it didn't work. There's literally about 1 millimeter of space. So, you literally have to put a thin piece of rubber on the T-latch to get it to close correctly in open position. But in closed position, it's fine. Comes with a side-mounted sheath. I really think this is probably second generation of these sheaths. There was a point where these sheaths were made with elastic, and Benchmade didn't like the elastic. Evidently, they were unraveling on people, and people were complaining. So they had their manufacturer do nylon straps, and he kind of screwed the nylon straps up. These nylon straps are way too big. They're upwards of 1 inch too big. So this is pretty much a manufacturer mistake. I've actually got a couple of sheaths like that. I have a couple of first generation folders that are liner locks that are Benchmade that I at this point can't find. I think they're probably on the bottom. I have a little drawer system, and I think when I opened one of the drawers, some of my knives fell on the bottom part of the drawer system. So I've got to dig them out. This one I purchased through eBay. Every once in a while, rarely, eBay comes up with Pacific Cutlery knives. This is the International Series. I'm sure there's a few International Series videos on YouTube. These were pretty much the same, slightly higher quality, I should say, than the 239 and the 42. They were pretty much the 42 quality. They were closer to 42s than they were the 39s. This is actually a heavy knife. So I think that the stainless steel that they used was a heavier grade stainless steel, similar to 303. And then it was coated in a plastic. These inserts, because there is sort of an insert quality to them, I think those are actually plastic inserts, but I'm not real sure. If you look at them, you can see there's sort of a decoration, little craters, similar to, I think it was called the 259. The 259 and the Jaguar look almost exactly the same. Jaguar is a copy of the 259. And this is similar in quality to the 259, but the 259 has silver areas, like little ovals every quarter inch or so. You can see the ovals in this one, and that would be colored silver in the 259s. The blade is marked 1985, but that doesn't necessarily mean this was sold in 1985. This probably up to 1987. So it's between 1985 to about possibly 87 is when this was originally manufactured. It comes with a box, no sheath, but it does come with a box. I don't know if I've got it. I don't think I have the box handy. Nope, don't think I've got it handy. Of course, it could be under all this stuff. Anyway, this is, of course, 9 1/4 overall. 9 1/2, it looks like. 9 1/2. 9 1/2, 9 3/4, actually. Blade length is about 4 3/4. So it's actually a pretty big balisong. Usually balisongs were in the 4-inch range. This is a 4 1/2, 4 3/4 overall. It looks like it has been flipped a little bit, but not much. There are a few marks on the butt end. I'm not sure. Let's see if I can get that in camera. I doubt if you could see that because of the black handle. But there are lines in the T-latch. So it has been flipped a little bit at least. But it's actually in pretty good shape. Okay, here's the last one. This is the 4903, I believe. Yeah, 4903. 77 out of 100. This was also a trade. This was also done in the trade that I did with a Benchmade forum user. If you go to Benchmade's knife forum, you may actually see the Mariner that I was previously the owner of. It has the Mariner that I had was a latchless. It was the last one made by Benchmade. Now at the time, I was not that interested in it. the Mariner blades are kind of a acquired taste. They have a straight edge on them and sheep's foot design, so they're not the best looking of the blades. This is an American Chris. Let's see if it's got what type of steel. I believe it's 440. Yep, 440C. Yep, 440C, 77 out of 100. And I jabbed myself in the hand when I first put this up on the table. Bled like a stuck pig. This sucker is scalpel sharp. Overall, I think it's slightly over the standard of 9 inches. I believe it's closer to, yeah, it's 9 3/4 in length. Has the T-latch. The T-latch itself is lightened. They have little holes drilled into, whoops, backwards. I don't know if you can actually, my arm's not long enough. See the holes in the latch there? It's actually a thicker latch than the standard T-latch. Of course, it's made from titanium. The handles are actually smaller than the titanium the standard steel handles on the older T-latch custom balisongs. Comes with paperwork. It's got this little warning, you know, scalpel sharp, yada, yada, yada. Came with the paperwork. There's the paperwork. It's considered American Chris, and I have no idea why they call it an American Chris. It could be because the point on the blade is actually rounded rather than pointed. It could be because the wavy parts of the blade are much tighter and not as far apart. I have no idea, but they call it an American Chris. Okay, that is basically my knife collection, minus maybe a half a dozen or so pieces. I do have an original Spyderco civilian with aluminum handles and rubber inserts that I haven't shown you. Let's see, what else? I have the Sage, the liner lock, the Walker liner lock Sage with the carbon fiber inserts. These are, I believe, stickers. They're not true carbon fiber. But anyway, that is basically my knife collection. Hope you enjoyed it. If you've got any questions, I can try to answer them in comments. Thank you very much. Bye.